some technical issues related to the separate state. We were told almost all the known lawyers in Delhi were paid by the Andhra leaders. They were booked, as you, there is a special term that I don't remember, but they were all booked. You know, you can't hire any lawyer from in the Supreme Court. All of them were paid, all of them were booked, and they were all given news, information, reports by these people. On some pretext or the other, they would hire them. Someone would be asked to give a report on 371D, and someone would be asked to give a note on, say, some other issue. Whether, you know, the Article 3 and 4 can be used in order to form a separate state. And someone else would be asked on the Mulki rules. So everyone would be hired on some pretext or the other, and they were all blocked, and no legal support is available. All the top journalists were under the control of Lagadapat Raghugopalan. He would give them helicopters for their own pleasure trips, and in some cases they were all given costly gifts, and therefore no one would pay any willing to listen to your argument at all. It is very difficult to talk to anyone in Delhi. And particularly after the bill was introduced in Parliament, we found it extremely difficult to talk to political leaders from northern India. It was so frustrating. People who were otherwise very friendly, like Sharad Yadav, we were waiting right in front of his house. He knows some of us. And his own party leaders from Telangana region were also with us, waiting outside, and his PA was telling Sabis, अभी बाहर निकलने वाले हैं साहब, आप तो तैयार रहिए आपके गुलदस्ता के साथ. And we were waiting patiently. He comes out and sits in his cars and leaves. And then this leader rushes and pleads him, sir, at least 1 minute, आप कार से उतरिए, 1 minute के लिए हमारा पर्चा ले लीजिए. He would refuse to take the appeal letter from us. You know, that was the level at which they were all operating in Delhi. Over here, all political leaders in Telangana were silenced. At one time, they all resigned, and within a few days, they changed their decision on some pretext or the other, withdrew their resignation. And then we were told, you know, that this is again a drama in order to get their own money from the party bosses. And therefore, they were not willing to come out. At one time, Kiran Kumar Reddy paid these Telangana leaders about 20 to 30 lakhs and a Fortuner car. So any new Fortuner car is a clear indication that, you know, he is basically, purchased by
fortune maker.
And there were some leaders who were very intelligent. They would say, we are tomorrow meeting the TRS leaders and planning to join. And the very next day, they would get a package from either Chandrababu Naidu or Kiran Kumar Reddy, and they would be silenced, and they make a press statement that they are not willing to join any political party. Now, winning over leaders in the Telangana region was so difficult. You always, I remember having talked to so many of them, and they would say, where do we go? Who will support us? Questions like that. What do we do if we come out of our own political party? And some of them even say that, at least, they are supporting us. Allow us to enjoy this benefit for some more time. So it was answers like this. There were occasions when we had to talk to them personally without any media information, so that their own party bosses would not get any information about it. So this is, the kind of control that they had over the political system. If it was because of TRS, the political pressure, on these, the Telangana leaders could be sustained. It's only because of them that we could sustain. After 2009, the agitation, the government has withdrawn this statement, and then everyone decided to resign. And at one time, they all agreed to press for their own resignations, acceptance of their own resignation. We felt very happy. At the last minute, when we were sitting in a hotel to finalize the modalities, then one after the other, they leave the hall. Then one Congress leader says, why should I resign if Jack asked me to do so? So he would leave the hall. Then another party leaves the hall. They would immediately go out and talk in cell phone to their own party bosses. They come back to hotel and they say, no, we could be cheated and this could be a trap to destroy our political party. We do not want to resign. So like that, it's only finally the TRS MLAs who submitted their resignation. And there was a pressure on all of us, ensure that, these people are elected so that the other political leaders can be taught a lesson. So that was, marginalized virtually all other political parties and ensured massive victory of the Telangana political leader. So it was, the media was controlled by them and every small issue, there could be a major story against the movement. For example, there were at least 12 occasions when they wrote stories that Telangana Joint Action Committee is about to break down. The Telugu expression is very beautiful, Nukalukalu. So many times they said, Nukalukalu, Chilikalu, tomorrow or day after, it might break down. Very simple incidents, they would make into big stories and put so much pressure on the people that finally, you also feel that you have to be very careful, whatever you say, whatever you argue, whatever discussion takes place in a closed door like this, it could be leaked out. So, there were so many ways in which media could operate, and most of the suicides are linked to the media stories. After a major victory, the next day Lagdapati Rajagopal comes and he sits in channel for 2 hours and ridicules the movement and says, how can these people win? What influence do they have in Delhi? What argument can they offer demanding separate Telangana state? So like that he would speak, and in the evening a boy who watches this, he loses his own strength, moral strength, and then he commits suicide in protest against the government's attitude. So this is, how we had to face the very powerful lobby in the coastal Andhra. The next important thing is that this has been a peaceful education. By choice, it was a carefully argued out decision. Everyone suggested that this should be a peaceful decision. The moment you indulge in violence, you could be suppressed. So after long experience, Telangana learns, violence goes against the interest of any oppressed community. No oppressed community should ever indulge in violence. It goes against its own long-range political interests. So we had consciously decided to continue this as a very peaceful agitation. Now, another important thing is that this agitation is very interesting because it is in this particular agitation, the civil society groups and political groups work together in conjunction. While the political groups were exerting pressure on the government, on the political opposition political parties, and they were trying to, mobilize support in Delhi, the civil society is the one which organizes the society, which mobilizes people into this movement, lends credibility to this movement, and the collaboration between the two is something that happens very rarely in Indian politics. There was very powerful Narmada movement with little political collaboration. There were very powerful, political parties with little support from civil society, like, VP Singh. So these were the instances in the Indian politics. After 1970s, we see the rise of civil society in Indian politics. We see the rise of, small political movements outside the parliamentary politics. But these parliamentary movements outside the parliamentary politics had very little linkage with the ongoing political process. Their ability to influence political process was always restricted. In the case of Telangana, these two come together. There is always certain amount of suspicion between the two, but each realizes the need to have the other, and therefore the alliance continues till the end. And therefore, it's a unique experiment. In the sense, these two come together, they work together, and there is a wonderful alliance between these two. Then the next important thing is, use of the cultural symbols. Every rally and every political agitation that takes place, the cultural symbols are carefully selected, invoked, and used again and again, repeatedly. It's the folk song which spreads the message across the length and breadth of the Telangana. It's again the cultural symbols like Batkama, Pirilu, they are all used so that people can be rallied and united. And it's invariably cooking on the roads, and people always laughed at it, and what kind of program, what kind of an education is this? So this was so effective that people could be mobilized and their involvement could be strengthened. Now, in addition to this, one can also say that, that these are some of the important dimensions of the ongoing movement. So when the very powerful classes from the Andhra region controlled mass media, what is it that really sustained? It's the cultural symbols, particularly the folk art forms which sustained the movement, which helped us spread the message and also politicize the media, mobilize public opinion against the media, put lot of pressure on the media, and that's how one could sustain oneself in spite of this immense pressure from media and immense pressure from all the social classes from the Andhra. So these are some of the important issues. Now it is in the course of the movement that we also see the rise of new welfare programs. In fact, the Sri Krishna Committee has made some interesting arguments too. It says that the struggle for Telangana is a struggle for development, rights-based development. So Telangana movement in a way was a struggle for a rights-based development. Most of the programs that now TRS is talking about, they emerged during the course of the movement. They have been articulated, incorporated into various party manifestos. JSC also comes out with its own the agenda for the development of the Telangana region. So this is how the ongoing movement, the welfare program is an outcome of the agitation. Now what is the way forward? There are two basic challenges that the Telangana movement faces. The first is that the pressure from the Andhra dominant lobby is not yet eased. They still have their own access to Delhi. They control through Venkaiah Naidu, through Modi. They try to influence policies in Delhi that are detrimental to the interest of Telangana, to the interest of the tribal population in the community. Particularly if you look at the way they had passed this bill, transferring 7 mandals to Andhra, you can easily understand the kind of clout they have in Delhi. This bill was introduced when discussed in the cabinet. Many media people asked the minister, they said there was no discussion on this Pranavaram bill at all. But within a day, President signs the ordinance and it comes out. Later they had introduced it in the parliament. There was pressure from so many MPs for a discussion of this bill, but they have not taken up any discussion. They insisted that it should be done in accordance with Article 3 and 4, but Article 3 and 4 were set aside and they transferred these 7 mandals. And everyone argues that this is important to necessitate the resettlement of the tribals. As if tribals' own political position on this particular boundaries is immaterial. There are only 2 demands from the tribals. They wanted a separate state for the tribals. If that is not possible, they want to remain in Telangana region. The Telangana region they wanted so that they can protect themselves from submergence and they can protect themselves from onslaught from the mining lobby. So this was the concern, but these concerns were set aside. And this same dominance and its influence is also evident in the matters related to the distribution of the employees. You all know that there were violations of the local reservations during the last 50-60 years. And this is the time when most of these violations can be set right. But then there is no preparedness to accept the report of the Girglani Committee, which highlighted the violations that have taken place in the Telangana region. There is no attempt even to rectify those anomalies that the Girglani Committee has listed out. The same attitude is reflected with regard to the governor's rule. Everyone says we are following the law. I am simply asking what does the law say? The law makes it very clear that the governor can have some say with regard to matters pertaining to law and order. And also with regard to arrangements for offices of the Andhra Pradesh government. He has to in any case exercise this power in consultation with the cabinet of the Telangana region. But the recent letter written by the central government is a violation of this act as well as it is a violation of the constitution. They are now trying to give governor powers over not only Hyderabad but entire Rangareddy district. They are now trying to create a board which will supervise the law and order in both these districts. They are also having control not only over the management of law and order but even the distribution of personnel in these 2 districts. So this is in contrary to whatever the act says. So like that there are a number of measures that the center is initiating which go against the interest of the Telangana region. This is a major problem that Telangana faces. Another important problem is now how do this political society and civil society work together in the coming days? That's another important issue that can be debated and discussed. Similarly, there are other issues too. After a major moment, the strengths are that people are politicized. They know what they have quite significant insights into various issues. They are able to grasp the political important government policies. Now this kind of a highly motivated and politicized community, the parties have to be extremely careful. And every political leader knows this. And it is in this context, how do parties organize themselves in order to relate with these citizens? How do they articulate the concerns of these people? How do they address these issues? I think something very, very important. What kind of political organization is suitable in order to function in a political atmosphere like this? I think is another important question. Some of these issues can be debated. I would stop here. I know for sure that this is a little haphazard, but in the given time, this is the best I could manage.
Thank you, Mr. Kolandra. We open the floor for questions, and shall we take a couple of questions and then we take a couple of questions. Rahul.
Sir, the vision for the future of Telangana or the future of Hyderabad, would it be any different from the vision for the leadership? I mean, as far as the development part is concerned, investment, attracting capital investment, increasing private employment, the liberalization, so it fundamentally differs from the earlier distribution.
Sir, you were just talking about the alliance between the the parliamentary politics and the politics outside the parliament and the civil society. So, in the same context, how do you see the lifting of the ban on the Maoist party? Because that has been going around, and I mean, in the recent times, all the communities, other parties like the CPIM and CPM have been also talking about the lifting the ban on the Maoist party. So how do you, like, even the intellectuals of all the intellectuals who have taken part in the Telangana struggle, like most of them been somewhere linked with the movement in the past 20-30 years. So how do the intellectuals look at this strange scenario? Though they have lost the ground presently, but still they are, like, how do you look at the whole issue as well?
I have two questions. One question is with regards to right-based development. One of the right-based development activities that the Telangana has been talking about is the land distribution. So when we're talking about land distribution, what kind of land are we looking at? Because if you look at historically, the land distribution has always been the ceiling of either the common lands or the barren lands. So are we also going to, because this is not the kind of Telangana land distribution that we want, but with the agenda of like the neoliberal agendas that are happening across, how do we see land distribution? And my second question is, when we look at cultural symbols, what's happened in the recent times is that there is a subtle patriarchy and Hindutva that's been imbibed into these cultural symbols. For instance, in the recent Bonalu Pandaga, we see Jai Shri Ram, Jai this thing happening across with DJs where men drink and dance, where it is a matriarchal festival. So at something like this, how do we challenge patriarchy in the new Telangana? This is my question.
We'll take for them, we'll take next set of questions.
Yeah, question and then we have
Sir, thank you for the information given. Now the new government is promising that more jobs will be created. and more industries are going to come here, and the land values are going up. Lot of promises are made. But my question is specifically to the development of skills among the Telangana regions. Could you please throw some light on the role of skill building in rebuilding Telangana, the role of skill development in rebuilding Telangana?
I have deliberately emphasized the role of civil society in this matter. The purpose is very clear, that this civil society is responsible for democratizing the society, in exerting pressure on the political groups, in forcing the political groups to change their positions. Now, therefore, the submission is very clear that it doesn't mean that everything has changed for good. Definitely agendas are changing, that is a very positive.